Tonight's agenda, please.
Yep, we have a call to order in the Pledge of Allegiance. We have open forum. We don't have any appointments, and then we have action items.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will now open up the open forum. Ladies. Mrs. Porter.
Okay, I'm
Floor
Jean
is
Porter
yours.
from the Northville Cemetery Association, and Sophie Steck, also from the Cemetery Association. We have been waiting and waiting and waiting, and we thought that we were on the front burner, and we haven't heard anything from anybody, except Roy Gardner did call me and said you would be calling me in a few days, and that was about 3 months ago, and I haven't heard yet.
That was a minor communication problem, actually major for you people. We just never got together on it. We do have some information on that now. Rebecca, if you'd give them copies of that letter.
Here's 3 copies for you. That was just received in our office on Friday, I believe.
Yes. Take a moment to read that.
We did reach out to town council, and so that was provided to us from town council.
You better have known this, I'd have brought my accordion.
Oh, do you play? No.
No, you just
Not since,
run it.
Lawrence Welk went off the air, or whatever.
Oh, that's still on Saturday night?
It's on one of those channels, yeah.
Okay, so now you're saying that the letter that was written asking for either the cemetery property, the schoolhouse property to be turned over to the cemetery, or grant us an easement, we have to go through that whole process again?
We have to have a engineering layout of that portion.
Mm-hmm.
And then, again, talking with Roy Gardner, it has to just go through the planning board, and it will go through conservation. We're sure there's no problems involved. And then the Board of Selectmen will okay the easement and grant it at that time. The biggest thing, as we've stated before, is to make sure that we have an engineering plan for everyone to take a quick look at before we can approve it.
Oh, okay, because we just haven't been sure. The easement the pathway that's there does go right to the cemetery property.
Right.
And,
And that's a walking path, basically. at this
Well,
point.
yeah.
That's what it was used for.
yeah, walking or cart path,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
But what you're looking
ATV.
for, you're essentially looking to be able to take, there's not enough room for the cars that you have in there for a funeral. And you wanna be able to turn them around and let them out, right?
Well, yeah, we have talked about making a driveway in there so that the burial trucks can get in, because they have such a tough time on Oak Street.
Right.
And also only having it open when there is a funeral, so
Right.
that we don't
Right.
have, the kids in and out.
As it exists right now, you can't do that because it's only allowing for a walking path, okay? But when we talked about it, I don't know, a month or two ago, the selectmen, basically, and I'm not talking out of school here, they said they don't have a problem granting the cemetery an easement. They don't, it's fine, okay? But there are issues up there in that the planning board and the conservation commission needs to look that property over, because there are wetlands back there.
Right, there's one part where there's gonna have to be a culvert,
Right,
put under the road, because we know that Black Brook starts,
right.
but
But
that's another.
that's assuming, okay, which, and it might very well be fine, that the conservation says, yeah, you can do that, that we don't, there's nothing, you're not putting it on some, turtle thing or something like that out there. And the planning and the zoning say, okay, no, it's okay, you're not violating anything. But for them to do that, you guys have to have, and I don't know whether I know you have, you told me you had an engineer. And the engineer should draw you out a little schematic of where you
Well,
want this.
the only engineer we had, actually, John Delano, the
Okay.
surveyor.
And he works very much with all of the
Right,
parties.
so, we can get back in touch with him.
And then what you would do is go through the two boards up there, the conservation and submit your plan. Once they have said, no, it's okay, there's nothing out there that we're doing, the board will come back. I'm assuming you guys are good with it, which I think you are, right? I mean, and vote.
Right. The town owns that piece of property.
Right.
The way it was left, they can't do anything with it. And God forbid anything happens to the cemetery. But it's gonna come to the town if anything happens to it. And so it's not like you're losing property that you own.
But they're not, I don't think that they have any objection to putting the easement through there anyway. It's just that you have to do this.
You have to go through the
Steps.
steps,
Okay,
conservation plan.
well, that's what we've been waiting for somebody to tell us.
Right.
I think this board, as we said today, will have absolutely no problem. Once we get
Absolutely.
conservation planning approval, as soon as the next meeting comes along, we'll give the approval for the easement.
Okay, well, I'll get in touch with John Delano
Okay.
and see. The cemetery doesn't have much money. Like Central Cemetery were left legacies and they have income and everything. Our only income is from lots. But because of the mess next door, we have not sold one lot this year. And that's another thing that we're here tonight to ask about what's going on next door. We are not hearing a thing.
But next door,
The Newcomb. Yeah, what's
Yeah.
his-
The Newcomb and the illegal apartments.
Did,
And Newcomb is putting more and more stuff in there. They've also got an old oil barrel. They're making a dump site out of the wetlands. They have put old trailers in there. They have put, an office trailer. They have put an old camper. They've got old trucks. And they're putting all the junk that they can. If you just ride in there and ride through the cemetery, we've been embarrassed at funerals when people say, what's going on? They've also got a big pile of wood chips. And it's just expanding, and that's very dangerous because it could combust. We're very concerned about that. Sophie went to the Board of Health, she went to the building department, she talked with the building inspector, she went to conservation. What is the matter with our town officials and state officials that can't protect the land there? It's becoming a mushroom. It's unbelievable, it's a mess.
have we heard anything about this, Judge?
yes, as Jean just mentioned, they've been up to the Board of Health. And I know the building inspector is aware of it along with the planning and zoning. I believe there is an ongoing issue up there, which isn't quite as cut and dry as, I mean, Newcomb's Tree Service is exactly what it is. It's a tree service, and therefore they have wood chips and what have you there. Now, I don't know the final status, but the people who would be involved with that would be planning, building, and the building inspector and the zoning enforcement officer.
Okay.
And I mean, it's not something that we can do other than to get a report on it at this point, but.
I mean, we went to the Board of Appeals 2 years ago?
Yeah.
2 years ago, and they said, don't worry about it because their lease runs out in July, and they will be moving. Okay, we waited. They did not move. They didn't renew the lease, but as I understand, they're paying the lease by the month. I understand that they have bought 10 acres in Hanson and are supposed to be moving. But as long as this piece is in litigation, which they say, and we don't hear anything about when it comes up at court, and as long as it's in the litigation, they can keep Newcomb there, and he can keep piling crap in there.
I think Jean just said the key word, it's in litigation, and that's what the holdup is, which it renders anybody, the building department.
But if he's renting it to somebody, can't the Conservation Commission and the Board of Health do something about the mess?
Well, again, it comes down like this, and we get this all the time, that sometimes people are actually in violation, yet we'll approach them, not necessarily the Board of Selectmen, but the planning, building,
Yeah, right.
the zoning,
Right.
and what have you. Well, we'll take you to court, and then, even if they are in violation, you're kind of stuck in a no man's land until the litigation is set, because you can't say that they're disputing that they're in violation. The town is saying one thing, they're saying something else, and the only way you're gonna get the final answer is when the judge drops the hammer on them.
But is it my understanding that the litigation is only on the apartments? It is not on the rest of the place?
I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot more. I can't speak on that and say, I know that the planning, and you've actually done your due diligence. You've been upstairs, you've talked to them
Yeah.
about it, and they keep telling you that there's litigation going on, so I'm gonna bypass it and say that's where we are, is that there's a litigation.
They also told us we could go to court, but nothing is ever said when there is a court case if they're going into court.
If I could just ask at this point, if we could have a letter sent to both the Board of Health and in Planning Board and Conservation, asking them to give the Board of Selectmen
An update,
on
sure.
Newcomb
That
property.
would be good.
Sure.
And when we get that, make sure that we send copies off to Jean.
I'm not even so
That way
sure
we'll
that.
find out where we all stand on this,
Okay,
because it's
because
out of our hands.
I mean-
But let's push it along.
We have prided ourselves in Northville Cemetery, and we're at our wit's end. Everybody is upset. Lot owners are upset, and we're trying to tell them that we're doing the best we can, but we're getting no answers.
Okay. Let's see where this goes, Jean, and we'll keep you posted. Okay, as soon as we'll have the letters out of here within a day or so. As soon as we get a response, and ask if we can get a quick response on this, then we'll get something out to you, and then get back together if we have to.
Okay, we would appreciate it very, very much.
Very much.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
And-
Thank you.
thank you for your patience, and we'll see what we can do.
Thank you.
I mean, I want to have the cemetery solid before anything happens to me.
You're not going
getting
anywhere.
any younger, you
You're
know.
not going anywhere.
Jean,
George,
Jean.
Yes.
just to clarify,
Jean.
to convey that
Can I get your
easement,
address?
it's not just the selectmen approved, it has to be approved at the meeting, according to.
It says here that it has to be
The easement has to get approved.
town
by the
meeting
town meeting.
approval.
But we can put it
We would
on as soon as it's all done, like we do all zoning or easement changes, but you guys would
Push
vote
this
it.
one as soon as I get it.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Anyone else for open forum? With that, I will close open forum. Madam Chair, Madam Clerk,
You want to make me chair?
please.
All right.
Action item.
Action items. I make a motion to approve the request from Anne Marie Winchester, South Shore Race Management Standish Humane Society, for use of the town hall parking lot on Saturday, September 21st, 2019, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. as a staging area for a 5K road race walk to benefit the Standish Humane Society.
Second?
Discussion, I know Anne Marie Winchester very well. She is involved in an awful lot of races year-round. They're a very organized group, and again, we wish them well, and hopefully they have a great day for this race in September.
It's my birthday.
Okay, so you're gonna run the race?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, that'll be
Yeah,
your-
I'll start
that will be
training.
your
I'm
present.
gonna start training now.
Yesterday.
We gave away our Team Julia shirt.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
No?
All those in favor?
Aye. I make a motion to approve for IT Director Ryan McGonigal to surplus equipment no longer used within the town of East Bridgewater and not currently usable in our current infrastructure.
Second?
Judge?
If you go to the back of the, well, not the
There's a
back,
whole
but
bunch
there's
of
a
stuff
section.
he has to get rid of.
Essentially, when we have things to throw away, there are certain things that you throw, so like the chair that broke under my, after me sitting on it for like 14 years, that we just gotta throw it in the dumpster. But sometimes with a, if it has some type of intrinsic value, you turn it into surplus, and then, once you've got enough to make some interest, you have an auction, usually held by the treasurer collector. So he's just saying there's some racks and things like that, and we'll just have to accumulate it until he's ready to
Okay.
get rid of it.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. I make a motion to approve to add co-owner Christopher D. Gendro to Class 2 license number 8, John P. Flavel, and Christopher D. Gendro doing business as Aviator Motors, Inc.
Second?
Again, this is just adding Christopher to the license. The restrictions are the same restrictions that are up there now. And I think the state was looking to do something, but they didn't have Christopher's name on the license itself. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I make a motion to approve the minutes of January 28th, 2019, 6:30 PM Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Second?
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. I make a motion to change the annual town meeting date per request of the school committee.
Second?
Discussion? Ellen, I see you here, Chair of the School Committee. Do you have anything you want to add to this? Not to put you on the spot, but I enjoy that.
Thank you, I
You're welcome.
appreciate that. Well, we had some issues that we would like to get resolved, and that would be a main reason why we're asking to have the town meeting date postponed or delayed, or however you want to put it. We would greatly
Rescheduled.
appreciate the postponement or the push-out date.
Someone spoken with the moderator on council?
Moderator's available.
All available?
Yep.
I mean, I think if it helps, the schools and we work together to get it done, and it means they can come in with a better, prepared for town meeting, then I don't have an issue with it.
We just want to have accurate numbers.
Yep.
Bill?
Yeah, fine with it, to help small a little bit.
Okay, and what date are we looking for?
I think we talked about June 10th. June 10th works for the school.
That would be marvelous.
Okay, any further discussion?
No?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I make a motion to approve the recommendation from the Conservation Commission to appoint the following as alternate members of the Conservation Commission effective February 11th, 2019 through June 30th, 2021, Kathleen Kavanaugh and Amanda Timperman-Frieda.
Second?
Ladies, welcome. Join us. So ladies, we'll start with Katie, because I've known Katie for a while. Katie, what do you feel that you can bring to the Conservation Commission?
The conservation is something that I have always had an interest in, and previously in my previous life before working for the town of East Bridgewater. I worked preserving farmland as working farmland, and I myself have more recently bought a farm in town. So it's something that I have a passion for, and I'd love to learn a lot more about it. And joining the Conservation Commission, I feel, is a wonderful opportunity to learn from some of the best in town and be a resource to the community.
Your first order of business will be to tell us, can we put an easement?
I was gonna say, and what's your opinion on this easement?
I did.
All of us will go to that same
See, I
spot.
already sent the letter up, you guys already know.
Follow-up question.
So,
Just sign that letter on your way out.
Right?
Oh, thanks for volunteering, appreciate it.
No, sounds like you got the perfect background to be on conservation.
So, Amanda, you listened to Katie, so it's your turn.
No, now how do I,
Say
what I'm-
ditto.
all right. So really more or less the same. I'm new to town about 4 years. I went through law school with the goal of hopefully becoming involved in wherever we did settle, and now we have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. So we're here, we're here to stay. But also I grew up in a seacoast, New Hampshire town, and my father was a lobsterman. Everything around us is marsh. I mean, there's nothing else there. The people from UNH come down 6 times a year and check our water to make sure that it's still swimmable. And being part of the fishing industry for my whole life, it's important. We have to preserve these areas. Obviously in East Bridgewater, there's plenty of conservation land, and it needs to be protected because it is our environment. And I understand so much of how it helps and filters so much of the pollution and everything else that we contribute. So in order to protect that, I think that I'd be able to lend an unbiased opinion as to interpreting and applying the laws, given my legal background, and hopefully better serve the community and also be a resource too. And I think being an alternate will help me learn, again, from the people who have been doing it the longest and know what they're talking about and know the town versus just jumping right into a committee and trying to figure out the waters that way. So that's was one of my goals when they said that there was an alternate availability. I said that would be perfect because I could shadow and learn and that way understand better what we need to do as a town to preserve the conservation land we do have.
I think it's great, and I think it's great to have an attorney, on conservation and, don't bring up that freaking solar farm, okay. Okay, anyone have any questions?
I
No?
think it's a great asset having an attorney on there, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll have to live up to that, but.
Yeah, right. And good for you for, stepping up as a newer member of the community and wanting to get involved. I think that's terrific. So thank you.
And we should establish
looking
an
forward to
alternate position on the Board of Selectmen for an attorney.
Bad idea. Use an attorney.
Fitting Timberman Frida onto an election sign isn't possible, so.
I think-
Putting Timberman Frida on one of those election signs, I thought about it, it's too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have to do these separately,
Okay.
so we'll do approval first for Katie. Read.
I make a motion to appoint Kathleen Kavanaugh as an alternate to the Conservation Commission.
Second?
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. I make a motion to approve the appointment of Amanda Timperman Frieda as an alternate to the Conservation Commission.
Second?
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Welcome, thank you.
Thank you.
Remember,
Thank you.
you have to get sworn in before you attend your first meeting.
Okay.
Katie would know that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Clerk.
I make a motion that we approve the memorandum of agreement signing with the East Bridgewater Town Hall Administrative and Clerical Association.
George,
Second?
you want to give us just a little, very quick background since the
Yeah.
clerical association's not here?
A minuscule, very, very, okay. Essentially, this is an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. Ultimately, what happens is this gets taken and then integrated into the full contract. The clerical union has already signed it. The biggest portion of this is that it's a 2-2-2, as we've been sticking with. There are a number of minor verbiage changes and what have you to clarify certain aspects of the contract. I'd probably say it does, it clarifies it for both sides, us and the clerical union, and makes things a little bit clearer to say, well, how do you do this in such and such a place? In this minuscule moment, I'm not gonna try to go down all the verbiage, but it's pretty much 2-2-2, and it comes down to that.
There you go.
Okay,
And this is 3 years.
any further discussion?
No?
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's it for action items, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. George?
Well, I'm about this far. Yeah, I keep saying this, but I've at least spent most of the afternoon making copies. So the budget is almost prepared. I've got 4 separate things going all at once here, which is time. It took me the better part of a week to get everything where it's supposed to be. But essentially, I'm putting some finishing touches on it. It will be dispersed to the FinCom and the capital. And by the way, I've made one for you guys, so you can, but essentially what you'll have is a package for each department, including ours, and then, I like to try to do something, call it one-stop shopping, where you look in and say, okay, here's the 2, here's all the backup for the 2, here's the real needs, here's all the backup for the real needs, here's this capital projects, here's this regular articles, all stapled into one thing, and you can look at it. So, essentially, that's what we've been working on for the better part of last week, and I think another day, and I'll be pretty much done with that, and then we'll move on to the next section.
And are we getting a clearer picture of what capital projects will be coming through from each department, or?
Well, there was currently, I'm gonna say, and I mean, you gotta give me a little thing with this, I think it's about 16 right now, okay, that were out there. Some of them ranging from $8,000 all the way up to $150,000 to $200,000 to our standard road work that Mr. Haynes has been doing for the last few years, which is about $500,000. What we usually do with those is once I can get the main budget out, I'll send something to First Southwest and say, okay, I've got a thing for a computer. How many years can we go on the computer? And they'll say, standard would be 5 or 6 or whatever it is, okay? And then they'll do us up a schedule. And what we'll do from there is, I know we're not probably, I can guarantee you, we ain't gonna be able to do all of them. I mean, it's just the magnitude is far too high. But what I'm saying is then once we know how much money we have to put in there to offset it, as I mentioned to you guys when we did those 3 meetings there with the Finance Committee, we're trying to get 5 years worth of the payments in. So what we'll do is put the money to offset these things into the capital stabilization fund, hopefully 5 years of it, so that the town won't be caught if something happens with their pants down and then say, well, okay, now we gotta lay somebody off just to make the payments.
For something we bought 5 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you're always got that buffer zone and try to do it from there.
All right. Thank you.
So,
Rebecca?
Okay, just 2 things. Senator Walter Timmelty will be holding office hours at Town Hall in the main conference room Tuesday, March 5th, 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And Town Hall will be closed next Monday, February 18th, for the President's Day holiday.
Do we have any more confirmations on the 2 senators and the representatives coming in to one of our meetings?
Was it Brady's office? I believe Allison Sullivan had stated that she's been in contact with Brady's office,
Walter Timothy's office, I think.
Timothy's office.
Yeah.
And then I've been in contact with Brady's office. He would like to come. I sent him some dates. And he stated that he's been in contact with,
Michelle Dubois,
no, it was,
Brady.
Allison,
I'm getting them all confused.
Sullivan.
I think they're
There's a
all
bunch.
talking to each other.
They're all talking.
But they kind of want to do.
We don't
like
have
a-
any confirmations yet.
No, but they want
They
to
wanna
get
do
together
joint.
and kind of do like a joint
Yeah.
meeting where they kind of all come and, kind of give a joint update on, legislation and what's going on.
maybe what,
State House?
if we can
Yeah.
get them all together at
That's
the
what they
same time.
would like to do.
It'd be
Let
nice.
them
yeah.
do a presentation, and then maybe
Yeah.
hold them and, for anyone for a question and answer afterwards.
And Michelle Dubois is actually coming. What did I tell you? Did they say March 11th?
Yes.
Okay.
In March 11th, Michelle Dubois is coming.
Maybe we could
Um,
send
to give
that
an
out to
update.
the other three then and let them know that she's committed to the 11th. Maybe they could,
I did,
Okay.
I did do that.
oh, she did.
But that's when they said that they want to do a joint,
Okay.
so,
Good.
yeah.
One last thing I was remiss in saying, last week, and I'm kind of gonna point this one more towards Rebecca, because she was much more calm before I picked up the computer and threw it through the window, but we did get in our second asking there for the Eastern State Steel, the
okay.
EPA grant.
Yep.
I mean, it's amazing how they change it every time, and then they
I
put
know.
little buttons in places that you can't find it, so, I mean, it took us 2.5, 3 hours maybe to get the thing in, but it's
Yeah.
there and it's in, and again, Tracy Costa did technical work on it, and I sat there yelling while Rebecca tried to put the stuff in, so, I mean, that's about it, you know. So,
Thank you, Rebecca, for your patience. Discussions?
I don't have anything.
Nope.
I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Be safe out there in that case we get a real blizzard tomorrow. Schools are shutting down early. and
I know, yep,
Know
Bridgewater,
the
Bridgewater.
town hall is
we're
not
already-
closing down early.
Early.
No, it's not.
And it is an alternate schedule for the half-day, it's not the regular time, so.
Right, there's
anyone at
different
home,
times out
Make
there.
sure you check your emails.
I don't
Happy
understand what you
Valentine's
mean.
Day.
I think like the central school and half-day normally gets out at. So they're gonna hold them until